politically through labor union organizing as a union steward. He went on to become a grassroots community organizer with the Nashville Peace and Justice Center, where he later became the executive director. Keith is the former president of the Nashville branch of the NAACP and serves as a board member for the Scarritt Bennett Center. He is a provisional elder in the United Methodist Church and pastors the historic C. Hubbard United Methodist Church here in South Nashville, and he is also the proud father of 4 adult children. So we have a great panel. We're gonna hop right uh, into this conversation, if only. If only. All right. So we have a set of questions, 3 questions for each of our panelists, and all of the panelists are going to be asked that same question. Tonight's conversation is going to center around the faith community and how we as a community of faith people respond to what we have seen around COVID-19 and respond to health inequities in the state of Tennessee. Um, Give me just a second. All right. So the first question, and we're going to start with Reverend Kelly, is does this documentary reflect your experiences in your professional work and as a pastor? Does it reflect your experiences or what you've seen in your ministry?
I would say yes and no. Um, I it definitely reflects when I think about the denial of care, the ways that people, um, myself knowing that I have to fight for care. I think about my nephews in particular being. My sister-in-law was a spontaneous carrier for hemophilia, the gene. And so my nephews, and the fight that they had to do to determine that my nephews had hemophilia. And then because of that, the way that uh, essentially my oldest nephew goes into medical field and so does my sister-in-law because of how they were treated and then wanting to make sure that people are treated well. And so, and my brother being an advocate for hemophilia families, there's a whole thing because of how they were treated. And essentially, initially being in Chicago and moving, interestingly enough, to Tennessee is where they were able to get the care that they most needed. But also as a profession, I was a chaplain doing CPE training at Vanderbilt Hospital from September 2020. And so part of it, as I'm watching and listening, I'm hearing, now by the time I get into Vanderbilt at that point, they have kind of figured out what's happening and moving and have a more understandable way of operating. And at that point, they're allowing one person in, and that piece happening. But I held the hand of a church member who had COVID before he went on the vent, and um, was not at the hospital when he died, but was talking to his wife and telling her all the things to do to make sure that she got the care. Even though the doctors were good and I knew it, I made sure that they knew that I knew this patient. And going above and beyond and giving her the language of when she calls, these are the things that you say. This is how you speak. I need you to have a couple of just medical jargon terms to know in order to make sure that he's given the care that he needs. Just for him, when it all came down to it, the disease was just too much. And so he didn't receive bad care, but making sure that she had the information she needed, understanding that there's bias present. And so that, for me, that was the thing that was interesting. My children were born in Philadelphia. And so like watching that and hearing, but also my children, well, we were living in Philly, but my children were born in Bryn Mawr. Outside of Philly, because that's where we chose. We just knowing that as a Black woman, I needed to choose a particular location and a birth center where they were going to listen and sit and talk to me. And so all of those type of ways of navigating healthcare as a Black woman with these Black children, so it was very familiar, and also. It was sad to hear that even how that chaplain was reacting. That was very disappointing for me. I don't doubt it, but at the same time, the way that I was taught and the way that I used my power and influence in that moment was opposite than what I saw happen for that family, and that was very disappointing for me and hurtful, because they're able to be advocates in ways that definitely didn't show up.
Thank you, Reverend Kelly. Dr. Hildred, same question.
Thank you. So, how does this resonate with my personal and professional experience? Reverend Kelly, you actually took me back to some of the personal. We have 2 children. They were born 10 years apart at Johns Hopkins Medical Center. We actually lived walking distance. And I walked in labor with the baby boy down there, because with the first one, they make you walk around until you dilate. And so, a tale of 2 experiences.